This is breaking news.
Governor Phil Murphy is holding a briefing on the storm in New Jersey.
Utilities President Joe Fiordalisa with us, and we have the Executive Director of the New Jersey Office of Disaster Recovery, Dan Kelly. Throughout the past 24 hours, we have been carefully tracking the nor'easter that is impacting our entire state. At current, the executive order I signed placing New Jersey under a state of emergency for this storm, effective 8 p.m. yesterday, remains in effect. In addition to signing that executive order, at 8 a.m. yesterday morning, Monday morning, Pat activated the state's Emergency Operations Center. We had a call at 11 a.m. You all had a call at 11 a.m. with FEMA Region 2. At 1 o'clock at our press conference, I mentioned that the storm was, with President Biden, was something that we were watching. And I think also at 1 o'clock yesterday, Pat, you had the 21 county OEMs on with the National Weather Service. So those are a series of the steps that we took yesterday. In addition, I have declared an 11 a.m. delayed opening for state government offices today to allow those employees who are back working in person ample time to travel safely. And let me just say this, use your common sense, folks. If you can't get to work safely and you work for the state, please work from home. The current forecast suggests this system will still be packing some heavy rains and sustained winds until the early hours of tomorrow before finally moving away tomorrow morning. Rain totals of more than 4 and perhaps up to 5 inches in some areas are still possible before all is said and done. Most of the state is already well over 1 inch, and parts of the shore had exceeded 2 inches of rainfall by early this morning. There are active flash flood warnings and watches across the entire state. Right now, 10 counties are in a flood warning and 11 are in a flood watch. Those 10 are home to 6.3 million of our 9.3 million residents. And remember, where it rains, it can flood. As we learned tragically last month, floods just don't happen in low-lying or coastal areas. With a heavy downpour, any creek or stream can become a river. For the rest of today, in addition to the rain, we expect winds between 20 and 25 miles per hour to continue to blow inland and between 30 to 45 miles per hour along the shore. Gusts can easily exceed those numbers. Joe, I think you'll refer to this, but we expect in particular those gusts to pick up late afternoon, early evening today. The entire coastline from Sandy Hook to the Delaware Bay is under a gale warning until 2 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday. And given these winds, no one should be surprised if they lose power. There are roughly 3,200 outages reported right now. We expect that number was as high as about 4,000. It's come down. As long as it's not terribly windy wherever you live, that'll give the crews an ability to safely get you back in service. But we almost certainly expect that number to go up, and perhaps dramatically, with the higher winds that are coming later in the day. If you do lose power, call it in immediately to your service provider, as these calls can help pinpoint where repairs are needed and where crews should be deployed. Don't assume your neighbor called it in. Call it in yourself. But certainly, as I mentioned, these crews will need safe conditions in which to work, so restorations could be delayed if wind and rain conditions make it dangerous for them to be up in a bucket. Joe and the BPU have been monitoring our electric service providers to ensure they are ready to respond quickly to any storm-related outages. I was exchanging calls and notes with the heads of all 3 of the big providers last evening. While we encourage everyone to stay in and sit tight until this storm passes, we recognize that may be hard for some due to jobs or school. Should you be out and come across a down power line, please don't go near it and immediately report it to emergency services. Again, do not try to approach it or drive over it. Under Diane, the DOT and its partner transportation agencies continue working together and are ready to go to keep our roads clear and open, especially if it means clearing or re-clearing storm drains in problem spots to keep roadways from flooding and creating an even greater hazard. We also thank and tip our caps to all first responders, state police right on down, and to the Turnpike Authority, county and local road crews who are doing the same. NJ Transit trains are currently running on or close to schedule with, I think, Diane, one big exception, and that's the Raritan Valley line. It shut due to flooding in Fanwood, then it reopened, then it was delayed because of a tree down. Now, based on high water in Bridgewater, the last I heard, it's now down again. So keep an eye if you're on the RVL. That's the one line that is in and out so far. Looking at bus operations, some north routes have flood detour routes in place, while south operations are not impacted. Again, while we would prefer everyone to stay in, we recognize that that may just not be possible. If you're out on our roads and come across a flooded section, please just turn around. Don't go ahead. Sadly, we lost too many people in Ida who went ahead. Pat, as of this AM, this morning, the New Jersey State Troopers, I had responded to 188 accidents and 81 motorist aid calls. There are weather-related delays on numerous roadways and periodic closures. Andrew, Route 23 is open, but that's been in and out this morning, right? Please remember the tragic lessons again learned from Ida. Flooded roads can have currents swift enough to wash a car and its passengers away. The Office of Emergency Management will continue to post regular updates at ready.nj.gov. That's my favorite place to go, ready.nj.gov. It's the one comprehensive site. And on their social media channels, which is Facebook. On Facebook, it's at Ready New Jersey, and on Twitter and Instagram, each at ReadyNJ. We will also keep everyone updated on our official state channels, including nj.gov on Twitter. We will continue to monitor conditions throughout the day, and we'll come to you with any additional announcements as necessary. Today is definitely a washout. And again, tonight, we'll get with a washout combined with that some high winds. So please, please, everybody, be safe and use your common sense. With that, please help me welcome the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation and our host today, Diane Gutierrez-Scacchetti.
Good morning. So as the governor said, when we started to get our forecasts in yesterday, the first thing that DOT did, along with our sister agencies at SJTA and NJTA, began the process of making sure that our field forces could be out clearing drains, making sure that our tree cutting equipment, generators, were all ready to go. In addition, New Jersey Transit began the process of looking through the system and determining pre-positioned locations for tree clearing activities with their crews. Early this morning, around 1 a.m., as rain increased in intensity, our crews at DOT started to get called in. We have 21 crews responding to about 25 incidents as of about 7:45 this morning. I think the best way to characterize flooding is it can be intermittent based on the rainfall. So a road that is open now can be closed later. It could reopen and be closed again. It's a very, very dynamic situation. And the best thing folks can do, as the Gov said, is to stay close to ready.nj.gov, NJDOT. It's actually New Jersey DOT on Twitter. We will be posting messages there so you can keep up with what is happening. New Jersey Transit is running a regular train schedule right now, except for Raritan Valley line. Buses in South Jersey have been relatively unaffected, but in North Jersey, they are using their predetermined flood routes for areas that they know are susceptible to flooding. So I think from a transportation standpoint, it's important for me to tell all of you that we did have this morning a crew responding to an accident on 287 when one of our trucks was hit and the driver of that truck suffered minor injuries. I cannot emphasize enough, and I think the Colonel will join me, in making sure we obey the move over law in New Jersey. If you see active lights on a shoulder on the roadway, you have to slow down or you have to safely move over one lane. In this weather, obeying the posted speed limit is important. There can be ponding water on a road that can cause you to hydroplane. You know, we're getting a lot of water. It's kind of coming over a long period of time, but if you have to be out driving, it has to be safety first. And so, you know, maintaining your posted speeds, making sure that you're driving attentively, driving with respect for those who work on the road is going to be key. It's key every day, but it's certainly key today as we have so many more incidents, as the governor said, where our troopers are out responding to incidents, to make sure that my message only be that you move over or slow down. These folks, just treat them like they were your family, and you want to make sure they get home tonight. So be mindful that the road conditions will change. Ready.nj.gov, New Jersey DOT on Twitter, you'll see our messages, and NewJerseyTransit.com for up-to-the-minute changes in the rail and bus schedules. Thanks, Gov.
Thank you, Diane, and a very good message to everybody. Please, please give first responders, road crews ample space to safely do their jobs. Thank you. With that, please help me welcome the Superintendent of the State Police, Colonel Pat Callahan.
Thank you, Governor. Morning, everybody. I'll echo both the governor's and commissioner's remarks. From an OEM perspective, we did activate the State Emergency Operations Center yesterday morning, and to the governor's point, have been in regular communication with FEMA Region 2. Chad Gorman, the administrator, even talked to him 2 nights ago in preparing for this. The call with National Weather Service, our state emergency management partners, and 21 county OEM coordinators happened yesterday afternoon. We also have New Jersey Task Force 1, who's our urban search and rescue teams, on standby with both swift water rescue capabilities as well as high water vehicles. Our Emergency Response Bureau troopers are embedded in all 21 counties, EOCs. To the governor's point, the fact that 10 of our counties with over 6 million Jersey residents are under that flood warning is a concern to us, and the other 11 counties under the watch. But our troopers are out there in that Emergency Response Bureau component. Governor mentioned our accidents and aids, and I will just close and reiterate, not only troopers, first responders, ambulances, tow truck drivers, DOT crews, they're out there to make sure people get to and from where they're going safely. And to the commissioner's point, slow down. If you can move over safely, move over. We've lost too many people because folks have not slowed down and not moved over. And on a day like today, it's especially important to do that to make sure that they go home at the end of their shift. Thank you. Thanks, Gov.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Amen to all. Last but not least, please help me welcome the President of the Board of Public Utilities, Joe Fiordaliso.
Thank you, Governor. I think we have to realize that every storm is unique, and we're not looking outside and seeing Ida today. However, every storm has to be taken seriously. We're seeing intervals of rain showers during the course of this morning so far, which has given utility crews the opportunity to stay ahead of outages. Keep in mind that these outages are going to fluctuate during the course of the day. But as long as the winds stay below 40 miles an hour, the crews will be able to get up in bucket trucks and stay ahead of the outages. Right now, we're seeing an uptick in some outages in South Jersey. The number the governor gave you is right on target at this point, but again, keep in mind, they fluctuate. We're expecting late this afternoon into the evening that the winds will pick up. And once that does happen, the potential is there, of course, that there are going to be considerably more outages. So we ask for your patience. We certainly don't want to put utility crews up on bucket trucks in a dangerous situation. And if there are winds that exceed a certain level, that could be dangerous. So please be patient. Let the utilities know that you're out of service, as the governor mentioned, because they don't know that unless you tell them. And I think it always requires repetition. If you see any down wires, don't go near them. Tragically, over past storms, we have had residents who have touched live wires and unfortunately died. So again, as the governor always says, use common sense. The utilities are out there. They will work in all kinds of weather as long as the winds cooperate. So stay safe. I came down from Essex County today, and the roads so far look good. And that's a tribute, of course, to Diane and her crew, who are out there all the time, and the colonel, whose force is out there to help people. So stay safe, be patient. We'll get through this as we do every other storm. And I am just wishing, as I'm sure all of you are, that someday maybe we'll just have a regular rainstorm. We don't seem to get those much anymore. And that's something I think the president talked about yesterday and our governor talked about yesterday. Climate change is real, and we have to work to mitigate as much of it as we possibly can. Otherwise, we're going to be here before you more frequently than we'd like to be. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Well said. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. We'll get Dan here to weigh in on any questions. Do you have anything you want to add, or are you good? Okay. So I think that about summarizes it. I would say, we'll take a couple of questions. This is how do we think about this storm? This is a very long storm. Unlike some of the ones that have come in and exploded, this one is a long one. Secondly, it has a lot of wind, especially, we believe, later this afternoon, early evening. And thirdly, as the National Weather Service said countless times yesterday and on calls, it has a lot of unpredictability. So those are three fairly significant variables that are associated with this one. So stay tuned, folks. Use your head. If you can, stay off the roads, stay home, stay safe, and if your power goes out, make sure you call it in. Anybody? Brett, you got anything? You're good.
Yeah. How much did you mention the tragedy of Ida? How much did that storm affect how you looked at this one and declaring a state of emergency when you did?
We learned, we do a postmortem on every storm, but every storm's unique. I think Joe kind of alluded to this. So this one has the attributes that I just went through a second ago. A very long storm. When I say long, the amount of hours literally that's over our state. Significant amount of rainfall, up to 4 or 5 inches. Very significant potential winds, particularly along the shore. And when the National Weather Service says it is an unpredictable storm, I believe both Mount Holly and up north have said that. Those are the ingredients on this storm. And again, while you learn from other storms, you have to accept that Mother Nature comes with a unique approach each time, and that recipe led us to make the decision we have.
But did Ida affect your thinking on this one at all?
Just what I said. Most importantly, it's the components of this one: 4 or 5 inches of rain, 36 hours of rain, high gusts, unpredictability. A lot of concern right now on the shore. That cocktail is one we don't like the looks of, which is why we're here.
Governor,
who is that?
Are you surprised?
Alex.
Are you surprised that weather and the storm response has become an issue in the governor's race? And is your declaration of a state of emergency at 8 p.m. last night ahead of the storm an admission that you were wrong on Ida and should have declared it earlier?
Yeah, it has. I think I've already answered the question, but politics is never a factor here. It isn't a factor in the pandemic. It isn't a factor in weather. Our job is to save as many lives as possible. So I think I've answered why we've done what we've done. We also, by the way, we debated whether or not we should have this press gathering in the morning or later on today or even tomorrow morning. We are doing this. We're in the middle of a football game right now. So you may hear from us again on this one. This one is, again, it's a long storm and with significant parameters in terms of rain, potential flooding, high winds, unpredictability. So again, I want to use 2 good questions to reiterate to folks, please use your common sense. And if you can, stay home. I think with that, on behalf of our host, Diane, thank you. Pat, Joe, Dan, the rest of the team, folks, ready.nj.gov is where I would go if you had comprehensive questions. njtransit.com would be for rail, and bus. Stay safe, use your common sense, and God bless you all.